This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. What I'm looking at today is 2019's 1917. That Was Hard. Directed by Sam Mendes, who last directed Skyfall and Spectre, James Bond movies. And this is a really good movie. I mean, really good. But it's not quite great. By which I mean, if you've seen Platoon, if you've seen particularly Apocalypse Now, you've seen better war films. It doesn't necessarily matter the era the conflict takes place in. In this case, World War I. Those are better films. And don't misinterpret what I'm saying. 1917 is a great war movie, but it could be a better war movie. Now the question is how? If you recall the opening for the movie, it opens gorgeously. These two soldiers sleeping in a field of flowers. It's a beautiful scene. But that's the problem with the movie, ironically enough. Beauty is only hinted at. Terror is only hinted at. Magnificence is only hinted at. War is hell. War is contradiction. War is boring. War is monstrous. War is brutal. War is ugly. War is everything, good and bad about man, embodied in a few moments of time. This movie doesn't demonstrate that. It dances lightly over these things, but it needed to dive face first into the murk, and it doesn't do it. There's a scene in this movie where one of the surviving, I should have started with the summary of the movie, which is essentially these two soldiers have to cross enemy lines to inform another squadron that they're running into a trap. It's a relatively simple story, but the movie is very, I want to say mechanical, but that's not quite the word I'm looking for. It's very passionless, for the most part. It doesn't, to me, feel like it grasps not only the horror of war, but the beauty of war, the heroism of war, the monstrousness of war. It doesn't do it. As I was going to say, there's a scene in this movie where one of the soldiers whose job it was to get across enemy lines stumbles into this town. The town has been devastated by bombing, and it's a shell, but it's hauntingly beautiful when the director decides to actually show you any of it. It's secondary to what's going on with this soldier. And keep in mind, the whole movie is about that. They needed moments of beauty, moments of transcendence, moments of wonder. And this movie doesn't really have them. Though to be fair, I think one or two do pop up, but they don't tend to be the focus of anything other than this journey of these two men. And that's not enough. I said this is focused on World War I. And from what I've read, admittedly not a lot, but from what I've read, this was a horrific war. In terms of men being torn to pieces, this movie barely touches on that. I wanted to see more of the savagery, as well as the beautiful, the monstrous, in this movie. This movie doesn't give you that, though. It's very straightforward, almost like a procedural, more so than a war film. It reminded me very much of Full Metal Jacket, directed by Stanley Kubrick, except for one important difference. Kubrick recognized the madness of war, the insanity of war. He never emphasized the beauty of it, the wonder of it, but he understood the madness and the insanity of it, and he threw it in your face, elevating that movie. This movie, unfortunately, doesn't do that. And once again, it's a very good movie. But it's not as good as it could be because the director seems to rein himself in as opposed to embracing the beauty, the madness, the pure terror that is war. And I would be amiss if I didn't mention the movie appears to be one continuous shot. That is highly unlikely, if only because people aren't perfect, mistakes are made. So the idea that you can film a movie without cuts is nonsense. Well, I should say, you can film a movie without cuts, without actually showing those mistakes, is nonsense. And this movie is too seamless not to have cuts. That being said, I couldn't find them, though I did see instances where you could cut. So, it's an interesting film for the conceit of it being essentially one take. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's an interesting movie with that conceit in mind. Though as a war movie, it lacks fire, it lacks passion. And when you think about it, war has those things in spades. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in a review. If you like this review, please consider a like. If not, let me know what you think anyway. Peace.